This video contains immense spoilers for both chapters 1 and 2 of Deltarune. If you haven't played through them yet, please do, or watch a playthrough. Trust me, it'll be worth it. Over the last few years, I've played a lot of games, but there's only a few that I hold dear to my heart. One of them has to be Deltarune. And because Chapter 2 released not that long ago, I thought now would be the perfect time to make a video talking about this wonderful game. Toby Fox is a developer that puts his all into what he makes. Undertale was fantastic solely from how it felt as an experience. And while we're only a fraction into Deltarune, this remains true. There's just so much content sprinkled around everywhere, which unfortunately you don't see much of anymore. But for the sake of coherence, I'll keep my gushing to one topic at a time. Let's talk about characters. Characters within this game feel like actual people. I know, big shock, but you'd be surprised how hard it is to make characters memorable. It comes down to dialogue, something that Deltarune does very well. It's the type of dialogue that both completely represents a character while adding depth of said character whenever possible. It's clear that these characters all have a distinct personality. For example, Susie throughout Chapter 1 is hesitant of being part of the team due to her role as a sort of rebel and delinquent, but eventually warms up to the team by Chapter 2. They're still relatively cold, but value being part of the team. With Toby Fox, Temmie Chang, and the rest of the team, small details can and will go a long way. Everything you interact with has something to do. Everyone has valuable information to share. Plus, every decision, no matter its importance, has a reason to be there and has some minor effects. Now that's attention to detail. Seeing how these characters play off each other is great, and I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. But what about the music that goes along with these characters? It would be a joke to make this video and not talk about Deltarune's amazing soundtrack, or at least, so far. The roughly 80 tracks between these two chapters are as good as you would imagine. That is partially due to the many leitmotifs of other melodies that Toby puts into many of his tracks. They do help connect separate ideas together in a rather pleasing way. It's not really a surprise how good this soundtrack is. Just look at the Undertale soundtrack. It's clear that Toby Fox can compose some insane music. But if I had to choose a handful of tracks that I would deem my favorites, they would have to be Rude Buster, Chaos King, My Castle Town, and Pandora Palace. But that's just a few. It's hard to pick when there are just so many great tracks. You know, I say this because I've been listening to the soundtrack while making this entire video, and I'm not even kidding. But of course, music isn't everything. So let's see them graphics. Sprite design is another thing this game does very well. The sheer amount of unique sprites and animations that these characters have just amazes me. Such a variety of expressions to further give these characters life. This is best seen in Chapter 2. I mean, Chapter 1 had a lot of great sprites as well, but nowhere close to the amount in Chapter 2. Now this is art. The amount of sprites for simply one-off events is mesmerizing. I bet you didn't notice this while playing Chapter 2. Of course, character sprites are nothing without a world. The hub of sorts is just a quiet, peaceful town. While this is somewhat of a cliche, the characters complement this town very well. If I had to describe the overworld with one word, it would have to be boring. But this is not in a bad way. Not much happens in the overworld, unless you count the ending of Chapter 2, but that's not for now. Almost all of the action in both chapters of Deltarune occurs in the Dark Worlds. These present completely unique environments and characters. There's forests, castles, and even a cyber world, all filled with unique characters like the King and Queen, Lancer, Jevil, and many others. The Dark Worlds are very interesting, while the Light World is boring. These worlds are meant to contrast each other, something that is clearly shown in the lore, but you can tell that a lot of time and effort went into the sprites and world design, especially with all the hidden details and Easter eggs. Everything about this game has a style to it. Even regular battles were designed in a unique way, and I love that. But with my gushing coming to an end, let's finish this. I feel like Deltarune is amazing for what we have so far. I like the much more ambitious nature that this project is going in. Of course, I enjoyed Undertale, and being able to get another amazing experience just makes me happy. Regardless of the similarities between these two games, I believe the efforts to give Deltarune its own identity cannot be overlooked. The only real comparison I can think of is just how Deltarune took the best of Undertale and added its own flair to everything else, resulting in what we have today. If you've gotten to this point in the video and have not even touched the game, please give it a shot. The story, characters, music, jokes, and everything else make this a worthwhile experience despite being about 8 hours long. Plus, these two chapters are free, so please, give it a try. But anyways, I'll see you in about 15 years when this game is
it's not a tier 3 video, I'm gonna proceed to insult you by saying you're gonna need to play tier 2.